Number 8. Elisa Zebraski. In 2018, the mugshot of Ohio woman Elisa Zebraski went viral due to her full-face clown-like tattoos. Zebraski had been arrested at a Walmart in Boardman Township for shoplifting a bag. The police searched her and found a hypodermic needle, an orange pill, and a rock-like white substance. She would later admit that they were methamphetamine and a Suboxone pill. The 27-year-old was charged with theft, as well as with possession of drugs and drug abuse instruments. It was Zebraski's third arrest over a period of only 6 months. The last photos she'd uploaded to Facebook in 2012 showed her with lighter hair and no face tattoos. Her subsequent mugshots revealed a dramatic transformation, with artwork that included a spider web across her forehead, clown colors around the eyes and skull motifs on the cheekbones, nose, and lips. Sources suggest that a part of Zebraski's sentence involved her taking part in a drug rehabilitation program. Number 7. Oliver Legate. From 2014 to 2015, British man Oliver Legate committed a series of robberies and terrorized the staff of several Beefeater restaurants in Devon. The 23-year-old reportedly harbored a grudge against the chain after he'd been fired from one of its branches. He committed the first offense in May of 2014 at a Beefeater in Newton Abbot. While wearing a terrifying clown mask, Legate threatened 2 female employees with a large knife before fleeing empty-handed. The second time, in December of that same year, Legate targeted a restaurant in Paignton and made off with over £6,000. His final attack took place in April of 2015. He dragged the female manager by the hair and forced her to open the safe, after which he fled with thousands of pounds. Legate was subsequently apprehended by the authorities and sentenced to 13 years and 3 months in prison. Number 6. Sheila Keane Warren. For 27 years, the murder of Marlene Warren at the hands of a clown had remained unsolved. On May the 26th of 1990, the 40-year-old woman was shot on the doorstep of her home in Palm Beach County, Florida. Her son, in his early 20s at the time, and his friends were in the kitchen. They'd seen a white Chrysler LeBaron park in the driveway. A clown-clad person came out of the vehicle carrying balloons and a floral arrangement. As Warren answered the door, the clown, without uttering a word, shot her in the face at point-blank range. The attacker then calmly walked back to the LeBaron and drove away. Warren was rushed to the hospital where she passed away 2 days later. At the time of her death, Warren's husband, Michael, was working with a woman named Sheila Keane. It was rumored that they were having an affair, and even though Keane had become a suspect, there wasn't enough evidence to tie her to the murder. She and Michael married in 2002. Warren's murder remained a cold case until 2014, when the investigation was reopened in light of new DNA evidence. Hair samples from the getaway vehicle, along with the accounts of costume store clerks, tied Keane to the killing of her husband's first wife. An arrest warrant was issued in Keane's name, and the 54-year-old was apprehended at the Virginia home she shared with Michael in September of 2017. The prosecution initially sought the death penalty, but in February of 2020 announced they'd no longer be pursuing it. In light of the pandemic, Keane's trial was postponed until the spring of 2021. It's unclear what role, if any, Michael had had in Warren's murder. Number 5. Tony Alexander Pete. In March of 2010, a suspected burglar with clown tattoos on his face was arrested in Ogden, Utah, by members of the U.S. Marshals Joint Criminal Apprehension Team. He was identified as 43-year-old Tony Alexander Pete. His mugshot, taken at Weber County Jail, showed harlequin face tattoos, reminiscent of the makeup worn by Brandon Lee in the 1994 movie, The Crow. The Marshals had gone to the home in search of another individual when they found Pete inside. He'd been living or hiding out in a closet. The man, known by his street name, Happy, was arrested for criminal trespass. Pete, however, was also a suspect in a home burglary, which had occurred on February the 24th. A man reported that he'd awoken to find 2 intruders standing over him, one of whom he'd later identify as Pete. The intruders told the victim that they were police officers. They then threw a blanket over him and fled on foot after stealing his Dell computer. Number 4. Christian Gulzar. On May the 23rd of 2017, 29-year-old transient Brian Lucero was fatally stabbed in the throat by a man wearing clown makeup. Lucero and 36-year-old Christian Gulzar, a familiar figure on Denver's death metal scene, had gotten into a fight in the parking lot of Torchy's Tacos. Gulzar, whose face was painted white with dark streaks, was wearing blade-supplemented gloves, similar to those of horror movie character Freddy Krueger. The blades extended from each finger and were estimated to have been 2 to 3 inches in length. The row was reported shortly before 1 a.m. Officers arrived to find Lucero unresponsive with a visible stab wound in his neck. A suspect, matching the description given to the authorities by eyewitnesses, was captured by surveillance cameras. The suspect was riding a scooter and was seen throwing an object into some bushes nearby. The police retrieved the object, which turned out to be a bloodied knife. When the police arrested Gulzar, they found blood on his clothes. He admitted to getting into a fight with Lucero but claimed that the transient had tried to steal his scooter. Gulzar didn't mention the knife and instead speculated that during the row, Lucero had gotten hurt on his glove or the spikes from his metal bracelet. Investigators didn't find his story credible, particularly since Gulzar had been arrested in the past for assault. A jury ultimately found him guilty of second-degree murder. Gulzar was associated with a local band called the Undertakers. As they performed their music, he'd dance on stage while dressed as a devil. The Undertakers and Gulzar had fallen out about a year prior to the killing, and they'd reportedly been receiving death threats from him. According to the band members, he was obsessed with demons and the occult, as well as with spiked or bladed weaponry. Number 3. Kevin Lapierre. In 2017, an award-winning Belgian clown was arrested for killing his ex-girlfriend in front of her children. Only a few years prior, Kevin Lapierre had been named the best clown in Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg for his ability to captivate audiences. As Clown Toby, he entertained sick children for a living and had even made an impression on Belgium's Got Talent. A few days prior to the killing, Lapierre had broken up with his 47-year-old girlfriend, only identified as Caroline D. The breakup had reportedly occurred because the performer didn't get along with the woman's children. He drove to her home in the town of Oudenburg. Lapierre tied up her 3 children, aged 12, 15, and 17. He then made them watch as he butchered their mother. Some reports claim that he laughed maniacally as he committed the horrific murder, allegedly stating, "I am a monster, I do know that." He then fled the scene. The police found the woman's body in the garage and her children, who were alive, tied up in the attic. Lapierre then drove to his hometown of Bredene and climbed to the roof of a 13-story apartment block. He threatened to jump, fired a gun in the air and threw debris onto the streets below. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Lapierre even broadcasted some of his antics on Facebook Live. The police standoff ended with snipers from an adjacent rooftop pinning him down. Lapierre was arrested and faced multiple years in prison. 38-year-old yodeler Desween Hageman, who sometimes performed alongside Lapierre as his sidekick, was also arrested as a suspected accomplice in the killing. Today's topic was requested by Fatso Juggalo, No Time Ming, and Amy Johns. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Assassination of Francisco Raphael Arellano Felix. On October the 18th of 2013, Mexican drug lord Francisco Raphael Arellano Felix was assassinated by a shooter dressed as a clown while celebrating his 64th birthday. The party, held at a banquet hall in Los Cabos, was attended by prominent politicians, business figures, athletes, and other celebrities. At around 8 p.m., a black SUV parked near the entrance of the ballroom. In the back seat was a clown wearing a bright blue costume, a red nose, and a hot pink curly wig. He made his way through the establishment and approached Felix. The clown pulled out a gun from his costume and shot the former Tijuana cartel leader in the head at point-blank range. The assassin fired several other shots into Felix as he fell to the floor. He died at the scene. Panic ensued, and the clown fled towards the SUV. He let off a few more shots outside to deter attendees, including one of Felix's sons, from pursuing him. The killer clown escaped and so far hasn't been identified. Felix wasn't wanted by the federal government at the time, and the investigation into his murder fell under state jurisdiction. The authorities have yet to concretely determine who was behind the assassination. In 2014, they stated that one potential mastermind was the leader of Los Antrax, an armed squadron of enforcers affiliated with the rival Sinaloa cartel. This, however, wasn't definitively proven. Number 1. John Wayne Gacy. Arguably the most infamous killer clown in history, John Wayne Gacy claimed dozens of victims in the 1970s, for which he was ultimately executed via lethal injection in 1994. By his own admission, Gacy had committed most of the murders at his ranch in Norridge, a village in Norwood Park Township, Illinois. Gacy ran a successful construction business and was active in his local community as a Democratic Party precinct captain. These elements would help him build the facade behind which he would hide his horrific crimes. Gacy was also part of a clown club. He performed at many parties, charitable events, political functions, and children's hospitals under the names of Patches and Pogo. Sometimes after a performance, Gacy would drink at a local bar, still in costume, before returning home to his family. Professional clowns would later comment on some revealing aspects of Gacy's clown makeup. Most would typically round off the corners of their painted smiles so as not to frighten children. Gacy had upswept points on his smile and fiendish arched eyebrows, which amounted to a terrifying get-up. He would later claim that clowning allowed him to regress into childhood. There's no evidence that he'd ever killed someone while in costume, but after his killings were brought into public attention, the Killer Clown nickname emerged. Gacy's MO involved luring young men and boys to his home and duping them into donning handcuffs under the guise that it was part of a magic trick. Gacy would then abuse and torture his victims before strangling them to death. He claimed at least 33 lives, and the remains of 26 of his victims were buried in the crawl space of his house. He was arrested in December of 1978, following the disappearance of his last known victim, teenager Robert Pierce, while returning home alone at night. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be chased by a killer clown or a pack of feral dogs? Let us know in the comments section below.